Now on Carlton, Roots of Rock.
Roots of Rock is sponsored by 1548 AM, Capital Gold.
Hope I Die Before I Get Old sang The Who, and indeed many pop stars have been consumed by the very elements which attracted them. Fame, adulation and wealth are fine spurs to ambition, but may become dangerous companions. In 1961, Brian Epstein and Alistair Taylor, his assistant, discovered the Beatles playing at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. Under Brian Epstein's guidance, the Beatles dominated the American Billboard charts, holding the top 5 places simultaneously in April 1964.
He was very much a manager in the style of what we would think Colonel Tom Parker was to Elvis. All caring, all covering, my word is gospel. Don't do anything without my...
On the morning of Sunday, August the 27th, 1967, Brian Epstein's housekeepers at 24 Chapel Street rang Alistair Taylor. They were concerned when Epstein did not respond to their knocks on his bedroom door. Alistair Taylor was at home with his wife when he received the phone call.
And I can remember saying to her, I'll either be back in half an hour or I'll be a long time.
London is a huge city, but some addresses have had more than their fair share of tragedy. 9 Curzon Place in Mayfair is one such building. In September 1978, Keith Moon of The Who died here of a drugs overdose of medication prescribed to him to help him fight his alcoholism. Strangely, in the same building 4 years earlier, Mama Cass, vocalist with the Mamas and the Papas, had died after choking on a sandwich. Freddie Mercury died here in Kensington in 1991. The Garden Wall instantly became a pop shrine and has to be protected from grieving fans. Auditions were held to find a band for Hendrix. Noel Redding, a 21-year-old guitarist from Folkestone, was asked to attend.
Chaz Chandler comes up to me and says, "Can you play bass?" And I said, "No, but I'll give it a go." And then I played with this American gentleman, this drummer, and this keyboard player and myself. We played 3 tunes. I went to the pub with this American gentleman. He asked me to join. Canada, LA, Seattle.
By 69 he was very tired. I think he was neglecting himself and everything. He wasn't eating properly, he was aging. I mean, you've only got to look at the photographs of him to see how he changed from 1960.
At 4 o'clock, get up at 6 or 7, and that's why we started taking amphetamines. We used to take barbiturates as well.
Not necessarily stone, but beautiful.
Uppers, downers, roundabouters, you name it. Jimmy would take it.
he was dead about 6.
His greatest successes were 3 #1 hits, which he made in a converted bedroom in Holloway Road.
Singing in the sign of the wind, blowing in the treetops.
Actor John Layton recorded the #1 single, Johnny Remember Me, in Joe Meek's tiny studio.
Right here, in this corner here, is standing right here. There was a screen, a sort of portable screen here with the microphone. This is where, in this actual spot here, I recorded Johnny Remember Me.
Johnny, remember me.
In the corner here, we had the drums and rhythm guitar, bass guitar down this side wall here.
He recorded anything, big bands and everything else. So you'd have the fiddles on the stairs, and you'd have somebody else in the brass section in the kitchen, and so all spread around the house.
Well, this is the room sort of next door, as it were. The engine room, this was, I seem to remember. The mixing desk was along this wall here. He always stood at the mixing desk.
And he usually had the rhythm section in the bathroom, because if it was a rock record, he had this theory that ordinary drum kit couldn't get the right sort of sound that he wanted, because Joe provided the bass beat. It's impossible to imagine this. Standing with one foot in the bath, with the other foot banging on the floor. Bong, bong, bong.
This was where it all happened, and this is where he did all those magical things all those years ago. It really is quite an experience coming back here. 35 years.
Despite his huge chart success, Meek received little financial reward and no royalties at all for Telstar. As debts mounted, so did Meek's paranoia.
The hits weren't coming in, and fewer and fewer people wanted his work. He was taking uppers and downers. He'd be lacking energy, he'd take some uppers, and then they'd give him lots of energy. He was homosexual at a time when it was a bad thing to be homosexual, because they were extremely victimized.
On the morning of the 3rd of February 1967, Joe's assistant, Patrick Pink, let landlady Mrs. Shenton into the flat. She went upstairs to talk to Meek, and an argument erupted.
And after about 4 or 5 minutes of this shouting, suddenly there was this almighty great bang. And the assistant ran out onto the landing downstairs, and this woman was toppling down the stairs. And he looked up, and there's Joe Meek with a really cold, stony look, holding a shotgun. And the boy slowly goes up the stairs towards Joe. He kind of made a grab to get at him, but it was too late. Mick had already reloaded, and suddenly there he was with no head and blood everywhere.
Yes, I'll always remember.
At the inquest, Joe Meek was found guilty of the murder of Mrs. Shenton. Now his studio is once more a private flat. On the night of the 16th of September 1977, Mark Bolan and his girlfriend Gloria Jones were driving across Barnes Common. Somehow she lost control and the Mini she was driving crashed into a tree. Mark died instantly. Mark Bolan was only 29 years old and his music was known all over the world. Leading figures from the world of pop music attended Bolan's funeral to pay their respects. Every year, Mark's son, Roland, along with fans, friends and family, gather at Golders Green Crematorium to commemorate Bolan's life and music.
It's really special, really unique. It's just nothing else like him, really. It's just so talented and so... It's just so special, really.
We're all gathered together here today to show both our love and our respect, to share our thoughts to a brave electric warrior.
Over the years, the site of the crash has become a place of pilgrimage to the Mark Bolan fans.
A premature gateway for a significant soul, for a murdering Mini, its heartbreaking goal. For me and you, just a memorial site, lovingly decorated so colourfully bright. Just an ordinary sycamore, catapulted into fame. As time increases evermore, the novelty remains.
Syd Barrett is one of the forgotten pioneers of British rock music. He was a founder member of Pink Floyd and central to their early success.
Syd was the one who wrote. Syd was also the singer, and Syd was also the lead guitar player. And he was the one who I think was most musically adventurous.
I met Syd Barrett in passing. He was a faraway figure, dancing his own tune. Eventually he became lost in the woods, but if you listen to the music that he composed, he was probably some sort of minor genius, although only for a few months perhaps.
When Syd was really firing on all cylinders, he was extremely beautiful. He was a very, very handsome man. Had a charm about him too, a lovely kind of elfin charm. And you felt you were in the presence of a poet.
Pink Floyd's beginnings were modest. Their first live show was at All Saints Church Hall near London's Ladbroke Grove. Barrett's creative genius helped push Pink Floyd to the forefront of London's psychedelic music scene.
The other musicians were very skilled in following totally unexpected sort of harmonic sequences that would sort of stream out of Syd when he got going.
Barrett's composition, See Emily Play, catapulted Pink Floyd to number 3 in the charts.
After you'd had the hit with See Emily Play, it was, right, where's the next hit? You know, where's the next hit album? And suddenly the game changed. It stopped being fun.
Let's try it another way.
The combined pressures of fame and his experimentation with hallucinogenic drugs began to have a devastating effect on Barrett's personality and behaviour.
acid is a very powerful drug, and I think that there's pretty well no question that Sid had far too much acid.
One gets the impression he probably took it all the time. Maybe for several months, I would say.
I remember reading some weird newspaper reports that Syd Barrett is so crazy. He couldn't write any lyrics, so he described what he was wearing. Well, I don't know whether that's actually true. But that's the kind of reputation he had for being so off his head.
Eventually, guitarist Dave Gilmour was recruited to Pink Floyd to cover for Barrett during live performances because his playing had become totally unpredictable.
Sid wouldn't always play as expected. He wouldn't give you a set list, he wouldn't stick to the arrangements, and it became a real nightmare for them all to work. And in the end, you know, we had to admit that there was a real problem.
When I woke up today,
Inevitably, Syd Barrett and Pink Floyd parted company.
then I wanted to be.
In 1967, Peter Jenner persevered with Barrett and attempted to record his increasingly off-the-wall ideas at Abbey Road Studios.
It was a bizarre and very distressing experience. The artist who'd made those great records, who'd written those great songs, you could still hear it, you could still see it, but it was like a glimpse, and it would disappear. It was like seeing, I don't know, an animal in the forest, you know. Oh, there's a deer, and then it was gone, you know.
Nobody knows where you are.
Although Barrett recorded just a few times the following year, he was unable to complete any of his projects. His glittering musical career was at an end.
I don't know how he actually ended up back in Cambridge. Who eventually took him home, who rescued him. If you saw him, you'd just about recognize him. He was quite large, short hair, balding grey. I mean, he looks pretty dull and ordinary. He doesn't really welcome visitors, and he certainly, people who have managed to get through the door, he doesn't want to know about the past. In fact, he does paint. He paints pictures, and I asked his sister Rosemary if I could see some of these paintings. And she said, and this is really what you might expect, he burns them. As soon as they're finished, he destroys them. But I also found out something else. He's now got a guitar. So you wonder, maybe he could do it. He could come back.
Come on, you miner for truth and in the water that shine.
And we follow the roots of rock again at the same time next Wednesday. Follow the Roots of Rock in association with 1548 AM, Capital Gold.